Namaste and welcome to Youth TV show Making Nepal Proud Globally. As you all know, this program is produced by Today's Youth Asia. Today we have with us our guest speaker, Mr. Michael Kobold, a successful entrepreneur and founder of Kobold Watch Company. He was the first watchmaker to climb Mount Everest in 2009 to raise awareness and funds for Navy SEAL Warriors Fund.
Hi, my name is Mike Kobold. I'm very pleased to be here today in Baba Mahal Revisited in Kathmandu in Nepal. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be surprised how beautiful Nepal is, especially sights and sounds around the Kathmandu Valley and beyond. So I encourage you to try to visit Nepal. In 2011 it will be tourism year in Nepal, so tourists will be even more welcome than they traditionally are here with the local hospitality. I am not a tour guide or a tour operator or any way affiliated with any tourist organization. I'm actually a watchmaker who's come to Nepal on 3 separate occasions to, at one point, trek to base camp and now for 2 years in a row climb Mount Everest, which is half in Nepal and half in Tibet. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place, the high Himalaya. It's absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. But the best part about this country is its people, and it's those people that are going to form the next generation that are going to ask me some questions now about my experiences as both a watchmaker and an entrepreneur and mountaineer.
Despite suffering from dyslexia at a very early age, you've managed to reach great height of success. So could you please share with us how did you manage to do it?
Well, dyslexia is pretty debilitating when you tell people they have dyslexia. So if I had children, which I don't have children yet, but if I did have children and one or both or 3 of them, however many I have, were to suffer from dyslexia, I would not tell them, hey, you have dyslexia. Because then today people are much more informed with the internet. They would Google dyslexia and they would find out what it is, and it would only make matters worse because it's half psychological. In my case, I was told at a very young age by some very mean teachers in Germany, which not all are mean, but a lot of them at the time were, you have dyslexia, you cannot read, you cannot write, you cannot do math properly, you should go in a school for stupid children, special ed. I thought, you know, okay, no problem. But my parents, luckily, were very strong-willed, and they said, no, you can't do that to our child. It stays in a normal school environment, studies with normal kids, and stop telling him he's dyslexic. They didn't stop telling me, so I remembered. But I was still around normal, quote-unquote, kids. And I didn't let the dyslexia thing get to me, even though I can't read properly the way that perhaps you do, and most likely you do. I didn't let that stand in my way. I decided, hey, I'm just going to do what I really enjoy doing. And in my case, that was watchmaking, which I love.
How did your interest in watches arise?
Yeah, I started to really like watches, or love watches, really, because I read an article in a watch magazine that I just chanced upon, just by accident, when I was about 10, 12 years old. Don't remember exactly when, but I do know that I was 12 years old when I got my first good watch, mechanical watch. And from that moment I was enthralled, and I loved mechanical watches because they're man-made. In today's environment, very few things are actually made by the hands of a human. Lots of them are robotic, machine-made things, gadgets, tools, whatever. But mechanical wristwatches still have a very strong touch of artisanal hands in them, and that's what really appealed to me.
You're an author along with being an entrepreneur, so what is the inspiration behind your book?
Well, the inspiration behind the book that I'm currently writing is that climbing Mount Everest for charity, which I did for the US Navy SEAL Warrior Fund. The Navy SEAL Warrior Fund gives money to families of wounded and unfortunately also Navy SEALs who got killed in action. So it's a good charity to support, and that's why I climb Mount Everest, to support them, to help raise funds for them. And because I'm not a climber, and I never have been, and I had no experience in climbing at all, and I'm scared of heights, I felt it was a pretty good story to tell, especially because a lot of climbers, people who have summited all 14 8,000 meter peaks and so on, have said, hey, this is a pretty unique story. if you can, why don't you make a book out of it? And having now been in the high Himalaya for 3 years in a row, every spring season, and having summited Everest twice, hopefully the reader will find my book interesting too. And of course the proceeds from the book go to the Navy SEAL Warrior Fund. So the goal is to sell as many books as possible and give the money to those who need it.
Today's Youth Asia, since 2002, creating future leaders for Nepal, connecting young leaders all over the world, making Nepal proud globally. Today's Youth Asia, GPO 8975, EPC 5478, Kathmandu, Nepal. Email address youthmag@doublelink.com.np. Website www.tyasia.org.
Studies haven't been your most important part, but even then you have proved yourself to the world. How are you able to achieve it?
You're very right. The general concept is that you have to be an A student. I don't know how your marking system works, whether you have A, B, C, D, and F, or if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. There's many different systems. In America, we use the ABC system, and I never got A's, except for in extremely rare circumstances, by luck. And so, having never gotten A's, I don't know what it's like to be an A student. But I do know statistics that say that the world is run by C students. So not the best, not the second best even, but sort of the ones in between, the ones that nobody really thinks are that great as a student. And I was certainly a C student. I got more C's than you would ever want in your records, but I seemed to attract them magnetically. And so having gotten a lot of C's, nobody thought that I would, surmount too much. Which at the time was hard, because even when I took my college entry exams, some of my teachers said, "Hey, you shouldn't do that. That's going to be too tough for you. Why don't you go to vocational school?" Vocational school is where you learn a trade, as opposed to university, where you learn concepts and stuff. So, don't worry too much what your teachers say. If they say you're a bad student, as long as you have fire in your belly and you have some sort of drive to do something positive with your life, it doesn't matter if you're a bad student. Drop out of school. You can always go back later on in life, but if you really think you can do something with your drive, and you have an interest in something and that you're really good at, that you excel at, that's something you should follow. So in my case, I loved watches all my life, always have, and probably always will. And I liked them so much that I was able to learn about them much better than I was able to learn in high school, in middle school, elementary school, and in university. I was really bad at university, but I was really good at learning and accumulating information that had to do with watches. And sooner or later, I decided I wanted to enter that market. I wanted to work in that field, and I knew exactly what segment I wanted to work in. I didn't want to work at the very, very, very high end, where every little bit is handmade. And I didn't want to work in the very, very low end, where everything is machine made and it's quartz, battery powered. I wanted to work in the upper segment, but still sort of in the middle. And that's the segment we're in today. And by sticking with it, the first few years were very hard. I wasn't very good. The company wasn't doing too well. I was still a student. Were very hard. But I stuck with it, and I kept working, and I didn't give up. And that's really the key message in entrepreneurship, is to just keep trying. Don't give up. Don't be dissuaded. If somebody says you're bad, your idea is bad, don't do this, don't do that, say, screw it, forget about it. I don't care what you say. I think it's going to work, and I'll prove it to you. So that was what I tried to do, and it worked for me.
Besides watchmaking, what are your other interests?
Yeah, other interests besides watchmaking are equally boring. They include reading and eating